Hi y'all, it's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my recent reads. First book I read is The Circus at the End of the Sea by Lori R. Snyder. Beautiful cover. And I love this book. And thank you to HarperCollins once again for sending this to me. I really appreciate it. This is such a great book. It just came out recently, so I highly recommend you snagging it up. It's just such a magical story with a lot of heart. And once you read it, you realize how much heart. This also shows the author's love of Venice, California. And there's so much actual facts in here, so I learned a lot. And in the back, she tells you what some factual things in the story were. And I didn't know any of them. I was so fascinated by that too. The whole backstory of the circus, 'cause it's not really a traditional circus, is fascinating and intriguing. Maddie and the whole mystery of where she came from, who her parents are, the bracelet she wears that she's had since she was a baby and left, and her being able to see magic when no one else can. Like, it's all so fascinating. And then Skeeter, he's such an amazing guy. And then Ophelia, a mimic octopus, I think is what she's called. And I learned in the back that those are actually a real thing too. So that's just so incredible. And they have my heart, and I'm so glad she was able to see what friendship truly is with them, because she never really had a friend before, because she bounced around from all the foster homes and stuff. So that was just magical all on its own. And then you have her condition, and then the missing ringmaster, and how some of the people in the circus are fading, and the binding tattoo, the bridge of souls. Like, it's just all so good. Such vivid writing, like it was so atmospheric. And I love the ocean. My heart is happy there. So this was very atmospheric, being set at the water. So love that. And everything's just so creative, like I said, down to the leg warmers, which was genius. I loved the leg warmers and what they do. And then you have a muse, you have mermaid, it's so much going on. And of course, so many amazing messages. Like, letting go of what we have always known can be hard, but change has to happen. And you have to let things be what they're going to be, not force them to be something else. And the ending had me smiling ear to ear. She did good. I was so proud of her, and I absolutely love this. I cannot wait for more from this author, so highly recommend. Then I read this beauty. It's the third book in the Aggie Morton Mystery Queen series, The Dead Man in the Garden by Marthe Jocelyn. And this was fantastic. Location. Each one of these were in a new location. And of course, a new murder mystery to solve. And them two are so good together. And he's Hector. She's Aggie, of course. And they complete each other so perfectly. Like, it feels like they've always been friends, and they didn't just meet at the beginning of the first book. There's just dry humor, and it's like so subtle. Like, it's not even trying to be, like, they're not trying to be, but it's hilarious the way they speak. Like, I guess I should start labeling it like this kind of humor, like detective lingo humor, like the way I don't know, it's so hard to explain, but it's so incredible, and I'm horrible at explaining and summarizing, as we've been over. But, I love it. It's just like witty dialogue and their banter, and they just even each other out too. I also love Granny Jane. She's such a force to be reckoned with too, and a little detective herself, and I love how Aggie and Hector go to her for like advice and to like go over the case, and she helps them so much. And that scene with the billiard ball, when you read it you'll know, is one of the best scenes I've ever read, and I laughed so hard. I was like, go Granny Jane. So I absolutely love that. We of course have some old favorites and show up and make an appearance, and then we meet some amazing new characters, and they make a friend in here who is incredible. I absolutely loved him. And at the end it said there would be more coming soon, so I'm so excited. It's not going to be just a trilogy. I could take 20 million of these. I could read these every day, so I cannot wait for more. Highly recommend this whole series. Then we have The Deep End of Life by Benjamin K. Hewett, and the author had sent this to me, so thank you again to him. This was so great. It was emotional and heartwarming, and there was humor, relatable real life issues, divorce, bullying, getting therapy, getting the right therapy and how important that is, and the right therapist and someone who works for you and is a good fit. And also a best friend who's moving away to Alaska of all places, And it's basically her only friend until she meets, or she gets closer with Omar in swimming class, and he's amazing. He has my heart. And it also shows that some of the ways kids can handle things might not be the best approach. So I think it's good to show that too. It was also, this is like, might be a little thing to some, but I loved seeing a book where the kid who with divorced parents stays with the dad instead of the mom, and sees the mom on certain weekends, because it's always, it seems like, the other way around. It was a nice change. I appreciated that. Marley also seems to have a fear that seems unrealistic when you think about it, but to her, she becomes like obsessed with it. And I think it just symbolizes everything in her life that she's scared of. And she's put all of that onto this fear, and that's the face of all of her fears. And I think the fear of her parents divorcing and what that means, her mom dating, her dad dating, what if they, you know, all of that. And then her sister away at college, she didn't see her. Her best friend moved away. She gets badly bullied. Omar and this friendship, and what does that mean? And seeing a counselor and all the lying and sneaking she's doing, trying to find things out, like, it's just so much on her. And again, I loved Omar, and he helped her so much, and I love seeing that friendship, and I was so glad that she had him. He's such a great kid, and the ending was so heartwarming, so I highly recommend this. Then this book, 13 Witches, Book 1, The Memory Thief, by Jodi, Lynn, Anderson. The next book comes out in April, I think it is, and I can't wait. I want it right now. But I try not to read the synopsis right before I read a book. So looking at this, I figured 13 witches. I figured she's just gonna be a witch. No. She comes from a family, the women, a long line of witch hunters. And this, oh, so good. I read this so fast. It was phenomenal. I'm obsessed. Like, I want more. I was engrossed. She had me hooked. The author had me hooked right from the start. I read this in less than a day. It's just so well thought out and plotted and creative and so intriguing. Like I said, I think from the witches and their differences, like the 13 witches you learn about, and how they all differ from one another and what they can and cannot do. And then you have ghosts and what we learn about them. Rosie's whole backstory. Rosie's our main character. Her backstory, her mom's backstory, the moon and the ladder. That was brilliant. The moon goddess and the clouds. The clouds. That's just genius. Like, I loved it. We also have some relatable issues in here as well. Rosie never knowing her dad. Her mom not being her mom or showing any affection or attention or anything. So she had to be like the mom instead of being the kid. And Rosie's best friend Germ is changing and growing up. And Rosie doesn't want to. She wants things to stay the way they are. And she's scared of this change. But they are changing, and she's scared of losing her only friend. She's also a writer, Rosie, and she loves writing happily ever after stories. And Germ says they're too old for that. And that broke my heart. As someone who's in her 30s who loves middle grade, I think you're never too old for happily ever after. It's like a comforting thought, and it's a joy to read, which is why I read it. And Rosie's such an amazing character, and even though Germ annoyed me on Rosie's behalf a few times, she's also a great character. And the ghosts were such great characters in themselves, and they're also different and unique and fantastic. I love them. Eb and Fred have my heart. Oh, so good. I even love the backstory we find out and the outcome of one of the meaner ghosts. I thought that was brilliantly done. I love that. The character development, story development was phenomenal. The writing was so good. I couldn't put it down. And it's full of friendship, magic, family, loss, love, hope, danger, adventure, bravery, and imagination. Imagination. It's so important. There's even great humor and Home Alone's mentioned in here and paid homage, and I love that. I'm an 80s baby, but I was still young in the 90s, so I love that. And I cannot wait for the sequel. I highly recommend this. The Trouble with Half a Moon by Danette Vigilante. And the author reached out and sent me this, said thank you very much. This was a really fantastic read. It's hard to say fantastic because of what we're dealing with, and I don't want to say enjoy. It's hard to say you enjoyed it because of what we're dealing with in here, but I did because of the writing and the outcome and these amazing characters. I enjoyed the good characters. I shed some tears, but unlike sad books I don't like to read, this is different. Like, the things I don't like that I don't want to read about aren't in this. It's important issues that need to be read about, in my opinion. Unfortunately, a lot of kids deal with what the kids in here deal with. And I think putting this book in their hands would help them tremendously to see that they're not alone. And with certain things, hey, maybe it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I don't want to get emotional. Pulled at my heart. Deli's guilt she carries on her shoulders with her grief about her brother, her parents' grief, and then living somewhere that no longer feels safe because of some new people that moved in. And it's automatically, where they live is automatically judged. I understand what the author was saying in here. Her best friend, her mom, lost a job and they were well off, and then they had to move here, and she said she didn't want to move there with those kind of people, and like she was moving there and turning her nose down at these people because they just automatically get judged for the actions of a few. And that's so ignorant, judging a whole, just like judging a whole race or a whole community like this. It's like the same thing. Judging it for the actions of a few is just ignorant. And then Corey, who moves in, she feels like she could save him where she couldn't save her brother. Completely different circumstances, but what this little boy goes through is so horrible. And then Miss Shirley moves in, and I absolutely loved her. And there's almost a small magical realism aspect to it. It's really up to you, what you want to believe, whether it's coincidence, what happens, some of the things that happen, it's just a few small things, or if it's magic, or if it's a higher power. Like, there's been things in my life I've been like, there's no other explanation but God. So it just depends on how you look at it. It's beautifully heartbreaking. Like, it doesn't sugarcoat anything. It gives it to you realistically, and I appreciated that. But it gives you a story that makes you feel like you've read something important and life-changing. It makes you want to be better and do better, to do more. And I think that in itself makes it phenomenal. And while it doesn't give you the happily ever after, it gives you an ending, one you can live with. So the ending felt realistic, and it could have been so much worse. I think it ended well, considering what was happening, and it definitely ended a lot better than it started, and it could have been a lot worse, and like it is for many kids, unfortunately. It just ends where you hope that when the story continues off the page in Storyland, where stories go when they're done, that it continued to get better. And I highly recommend this. Such an important, powerful read, and I'm just so impressed by this author. I read The Other Forest, Danielle Koehler. The author sent this to me, so thank you very much. This was incredible. I fell in love with these kids and these animals. These animals were incredible. They had great messages and themes. The grief is a big theme in here, as well as what we're doing to our environment and the animals who live in it. Besides the amazing writing and the amazing way the author writes to where you want to read about this, fantasy part of the story that gives it that magical edge that will make kids want to read it even more, and especially and not even realize at the time they're reading something important, and that sends them a great message. I wish there was another part of the world where animals were safe, but unfortunately there isn't magic and there isn't, so we have to do better for them, and I think it's so important. The grief was realistic and honest, and I appreciated that. And it's a very relatable subject that I think would help a lot of kids too. And that's not all she's dealing with. She's dealing with huge change. Her mom moves her from the States to Chile. So not just another city or state, but a whole other country. There's great messages on anger, revenge, and how both can eat you up from the inside out. You just need to move forward and not get trapped in your pains from the past. It'll destroy you. And you don't have to carry the weight of all of that. You can always ask for help. There's always people there who love and care about you that are willing to help. And the way she feels about her dog Max is very relatable to me, because I feel the same way about my pup. While she views Max as a brother, I view mine as a daughter. So, and it is like their family. So that was amazing to read. I found the magical part of the story and The whole plot just so intriguing, and I loved it. I read this so fast. And not only is Olivia a great main character, but I love Diego, the friend she makes when she moves to Chile. He's such a sweetheart of a kid, and I love watching that friendship grow when they went into this magical other forest together. And the animals themselves, I'm telling you, these animals were such phenomenal characters. Bruta, the sassy fox, Tuku. Owls are my second favorite animal after wolves, and this wise owl was, oh, I love him. But Nguyen, the puma, just got such quiet strength and wisdom, and he has my heart. He has such a beautiful soul, and I loved him so much. He has my heart. The ending was also beautiful. It wrapped up great. I love this ending. And it also has the most beautiful illustrations sprinkled throughout, just like the cover. What I find incredible, and I always do, is that it's all done by the author. Like all that talent, I'm telling you. Absolutely love this. Highly recommend. Then I read The Explorer's Code by Allison K. Hymas. This was so good. I don't like math. There's a lot of math in here. Well, not math, but there's a math-loving kid. He likes numbers. So there's codes for him. And apparently I like codes and puzzles and mystery. These two are siblings, and then this is a separate girl who is on the weekend trip to this old house. There's 10 rooms for the weekend, and 10 separate groups come to stay. It's full of puzzle solving, and the characters are just so great. The whole backstory of this house turned hotel, and the people who used to live there, and the woman who set the rules that everything has to stay the same no matter what and why. The female explorer we learn about, it's just fascinating, and it's so atmospheric. It's perfect for this time of year. Between the house and the mystery and the puzzles and the coding and the characters, like some eccentric characters in here too, it's just so atmospheric, all of that combined. It gave me all the cozy, mysterious vibes. And like I said, the eccentric hotel guests staying the weekend, they're incredible. These kids are amazing, and they each bring something crucial to the equation. Like the mystery could not, if one of them was missing, they couldn't have solved it. So, and you get to see the weekend from each of their points of view, like it switches back and forth, and how different each experience was, and what each is doing to solve this mystery of the house. And I love that and appreciate it. It was so great and intriguing just to see it from different points of view and how different they all are. Anna is my favorite. I would be doing what she did. Exploring, seeing things people hadn't seen in so many years, to where there's dust, and how many years had it been since somebody had walked through there, touched it? Like, I always find that I would have loved that, to do something like that. I just think that's incredible. I love history. And the way the whole story and mystery came together and what we all find out, it was superb. There are twists, and I never guessed the ending, which I always love that. It's such a heartwarming book hug ending too. And what Anna did with what she found at the very end and why, that melted my heart, and it gave me goosebumps, and I just loved that. And I highly recommend this. It's got family, friendship, mystery, codes, puzzles, amazing characters, history, and great writing. So, loved it. We have The Halloween Moon by Joseph Fink. This was so good. I love this. Definitely perfect Halloween read. You know, Halloween never ending, and the girl who loves Halloween so much. This shows the absolute awesomeness of Halloween, but how even something as awesome as Halloween, you wouldn't want it every day. It loses its magicness. It loses its magic and the specialness of it if you have it all the time. There's nothing to look forward to. And there's some issues that'll be relatable to kids too, like becoming a teenager on the verge of starting high school, having new feelings for someone you didn't before, how scary that can be, bullying, and scary to the point when you want everything to stay as it is and never change. And so that blended in with the Halloween, staying and nothing changing brilliantly, how that all weaves together, and you're like, huh, yeah, no. There's good and bad to all of it, so you just gotta continue to move on and have things change as part of life. So amazing life lessons delivered in the form of an amazing fantasy Halloween story, and the kids won't even realize they learned some important lessons while enjoying the read. As usual, that's genius. There's also talk of anti-Semitism. Esther is Jewish, and I believe she says she's the only Jewish person in the school. And she talks about what that's like, and also some of the awful things that one bully in particular says to her. And so I found that interesting too, because the bully also deals with racism and gets bullied a lot. So it's interesting that she took what happens to her and chose this path to do it to somebody else. So you see what both sides of that are like, and see why the bully chose that path and doesn't make it okay, and she made me very angry. But it was interesting to see that, and I think it brings up a great opportunity for an important conversation with kids, maybe. I thought that was fantastic. Then you have the amazing characters. Esther and Augustine have my heart. They are so cute together. They're just the best. And Esther would so be what my kid would be like if I had one. And the author made a grown-up my favorite character. Mr. Gabler, he has my heart. He's such a phenomenal, intriguing character. He's just fascinating. I mean, you know, he wasn't always a dentist. You have to read it. Then you have the amazing plot, the vivid atmospheric details, like the queen, the two brothers, the trick-or-treaters, which are creepy, the dream, the black cat. There's a great message about black cats in here that I never really thought about, but it made me feel a little guilty, and I thought that was great that was in there. The humor is just superb. The dialogue is also written in just the writing is so unique and in such a clever way. It just really hit the mark for me, and I really loved it. I definitely recommend it for any time of year, but of course, perfect for Halloween. I mean, Halloween. Then I read The Quest for the Luminae by Melody J. Bremen. The author sent this to me, so thank you very much to her for that. I love this book. It's such a creative, unique, authors that come up with all these, it's just incredible to me. Milo is such a great character. And this whole world is fascinating. The underground, the overground, the fact that Milo had never seen the sun, and so many things that are above ground, he had no idea what that meant. Like, what are clouds? How do they make rain? Why are they change colors? What is this? Like it was just, and that's how it would be. And then the adventure, there's so much adventure and danger, and just so fast-paced, such a page-turner, and so much suspense. And it's so funny without even trying to be. Again, I love that kind of humor. And Rod is tough, but he has my heart. Another adult that has my heart. The whole mystery of the sickness, of their mission, the danger of following them, it's also intriguing. And you have to keep reading to find out what happens. You don't want to put it down. And this is another one I finished in less than a day because I couldn't stop. At the end of each chapter, I had to keep knowing what was going to happen. And I'm so eager to learn more about this world and get more answers to the questions that were left unanswered. Not many. We got a lot of that answered, but of course it's a series, so things get continued on. And I also hope we get to see more of the king and prince in the next book that we meet on the journey and this one. So, because they were funny. They're two brothers, and I just loved them. They were phenomenal too. Learn more about Sammy and her kids and her husband, and I just love this. Highly recommend. And then I've been reading some really great books. We have The Dollhouse, A Ghost Story by Cherish Cotter. This is another one I read so fast. It just blew me away. It was like a mind trip, like mind-blowing. And I mean that. Like, I don't know how. I would have got such a headache trying to write this, and having it all come together and make sense. And the author did it brilliantly, like it was nothing. My brain was literally in knots trying to figure out what was real, what was dream, what was magic, and I had no idea what was going to happen next. I couldn't wrap my head around everything good enough to even begin to tell you how it might end. I had no idea how it would end, and what an ending. It was so good. It all came together, and it was just so beautiful, and everything I wanted answers for was answered. Boy, it was atmospheric. This old house that looks like it's stuck in time in the 1920s inside of it, and the strange old lady upstairs, she's so cantankerous, and she's so mean upstairs. And the dollhouse, I always wanted a dollhouse like this, the one described, minus all the spooky stuff, of course, and I don't know if I do now. Trains are so atmospheric too themselves, and there's a quick train ride in the beginning and stuff that happens with that, and then but where the house is, you can hear the train whistle blowing, and that in itself, mentioning that's atmospheric in this house anyway. The characters are so amazing as well. Alice is such a tough kid. She's got so much change going on and everything that's happening, plus what she has to go through in this house and with this dollhouse. And Lily, though, Lily has my heart. I think so. Yes, she does. You'll know when you read it why I said that. It's just such a hauntingly beautiful read, and the intrigue remained high, and I read almost, again, the last 70% in one go. Like, I could not put it down. And there's great themes in here as well. There's so much adventure, friendship, family, mystery, imagination. And I have quite a few of this author's books, and now I want to gobble them all up. I love this. I highly recommend. Azalea Fern and the Last Ruin of the Extinct by Becky Murray. And the author sent me this, so thank you very much. Another one I read super fast, and it's very unique and incredible. I was a little confused at the beginning because our terminology is different than ours, but it quickly cleared up and it all became clear, so that wasn't a problem. And the plot's so unique, and the author created a whole other world, and some parts of it are kind of like a reflection of our own world, or what could be our world if we continue on the way we are with some things. And their creativity stretches out from that world she created to the animals and creatures living there, the ruin, the light, like I said, their terminology, and just to name a few things. And the characters are creative and interesting too, from their physical differences to their eyes and what they do and how they live in the trees. There's so many amazing messages and lessons in here as well. And the characters are not only unique, but they're terrific. And Azalea is a terrific main character, and I love how she didn't have the mentality that the other kids have, that they're just kids. She's like, I'm not just anything. And I always love that. She was brave and curious, and she was determined. She fights for the truth and for what's right. And I adored Oakley. I think that's how you say his name, her best friend. He's just such a great kid and an incredible best friend, and Azalea is so lucky to have him. And I read this in like 2 sittings. It's definitely a page turner. I love the whole backstory of this world and their people, including the whole story of the ruin and the people attached to that. The humor is also fantastic. Even though they live in trees and this is a different world, they are not immune to that nosy neighbor who is sticking their nose, and that's funny. If you read this, you'll know why that's funny, in everyone's business. So I love that. That was fantastic. And I love the ending, and I gave it a big old book hug, and I cannot wait for the next book anymore. And another one, the author did the cover illustrations too, so incredible. I love that. Alright y'all, that's the end of this video of my recent reads. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all enjoyed today's shirt. Buffy. I love Buffy. I hope y'all subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.